Okay, and we are going to, wonderful. Let's see here, gallery view. Okay. We are ready to roll. Well, welcome everybody. It is April 8th, 2020, and it's 11:30 Central AM and 12:30 Eastern Time. And this is the next session of the Unique Genius in 33 Live. And I am just honored and excited to have our guest on today, who I met. Has it been over a year now, Al? Has it been?
Yes,
When
it's
did
been a little over a year that
Oh my gosh, time flies. I can't believe that. So who we have on, and I'll introduce him here in a minute, Al DaSilva from Memphis, Tennessee, and he's going to tell a little bit more about himself and his top five. But today, we are going to be talking about the talent theme context. Now, context is an interesting theme for me. I like it. Here's what Gallup says. Let's go into the Gallup short definition. People exceptionally talented in the context theme enjoy thinking about the past. And I was just talking with a friend yesterday who has context in her top two, and she just needed to talk. And she goes, do you have time to talk? So we'll get into that. But they understand the present by researching its history. So it is about looking back. And to put that into a little bit of contrast, somebody who has futuristic, they can put the present into perspective by looking at what's possible in the future, where, again, context, they understand the present by researching history. So with that, I'm going to go ahead, Al. It's Al DaSilva. Why don't you go ahead and tell who you are, where do you live, what do you do, and your top five.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sherry. And it's been a pleasure to be part of the Strong Communities family. We call it family because it's all of the folks that have been certified. You know, it's an honor to be part of this great organization providing insights into strength-based leadership. But my background, my name is Al DaSilva. I've been in the States for almost 23 years. I'm originally from Brazil. Had the opportunity to come to this great country who I'm now a citizen of. I have a great family, my wife, Sunshine, and we have two wonderful kids, Isabella, who's 13, and Isaiah, who is 10. And they are very talented in their own selves. We're very proud of them. Professionally, I've done a lot of things professionally, and it's been a privilege. I started out as a pre-med student at Union University, and I tell people that I like Union so much, I went 3 times. And so I started in the food industry. I then transitioned to healthcare. I became a nurse. At Union, I got a master's in business administration. So I worked in the food industry for a while in production, quality, process improvement, and that's a lot of my background now. Transitioning healthcare as a nurse and then administration. And now, working hospitals, medical groups, and now I have the privilege of leading DaSilva Consulting that offers fractional executive leadership to small businesses, mostly healthcare. But if it's a business, we have a framework and we can help them. So that's who we are. And my top 5 is strategic,
Okay.
belief,
Okay.
and context today, number 3.
Yes.
Learner and communication. Those are my top 5.
Oh, I love that. It just has just the essence of absorbing information around you and from a very stable core place with that belief. So awesome. Well, thank you, Al. So we always like to start, and I know we're in a bit of a different time right now, but I still want to start there, is what do you love about your context theme?
I think what I love the most about context is it gives me an opportunity to pause and connect with people. Because in order to connect with people, you have to learn who they are. And
Mhm.
what better learn who they are by understanding the context by which they are who they are. You know, how they, where they went to school, right? You get to learn about them, where they grew up, and how that context fit in the present, and how I put that in the framework where I can help that particular individual. So
Mhm.
for me, that's what I love the most. I'm a talker. If you know who I am, you know that I talk and all the good stuff. I know people make jokes that Al has not met one stranger, and that is so true. You know,
Yeah.
I can connect with people very, very quickly. And I think the reason for that is my context talent that allows me to really connect with them, whoever they are, whatever culture they are. And I think that's a great advantage. You know, it doesn't matter
Mm.
whatever race you have, or whatever. It's like it's the ability to connect with that human being, and that's
Ah,
what I love.
see, and it's interesting, right? Because context and learner, I hear those two, and you said learner's number 4 for you, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so those two together, right? Yeah, that is, and you say communication, so that's your talking.
That's
So
that.
as you were describing context, I could hear all your other themes, right? Like here's the reason why, the strategic and your belief, right? You have very solid core values, and then context learner, and then your communication. So it flows like the way you even describe context. You play you really, really well, Al. Right? Because even the way you describe context was boom, 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 and then you communicated it so brilliantly. So I love that. So let me ask you this though, on the flip side.
Sure.
What drives you crazy, or maybe drives others crazy about your context theme?
Well, self-awareness is key, right? And I think that's one of the things that
Yes.
I think that's one of the things that I love the most about when you learn and when you go through strong communities seminars, is that one of the piece that we talk about is that self-awareness. So for context, you know, a lot of times somebody that's very, very like to the point, they
Mhm.
may not appreciate you kind of wanting to understand all of the background and what have you. They want to go, right?
Right.
So sometimes that can be challenged, but
Yeah,
then
somebody who has activator or even
absolutely,
futuristic,
absolutely
yeah.
not going to appreciate that as much. They want to move to business and what have you. So the way, you know, I have to be self-aware that that can frustrate others.
Mm-hmm.
And also it can frustrate me because I want to understand, right? So I can learn, like you're saying, and I'm seeking to connect. And
Right.
people connect at different levels and at different intervals. So
Right.
what I may be able to connect with people very quickly, others may not be able to connect that quickly. So I have to be respectful of
Mm-hmm.
their position and how do I dose my need for context with
Mm-hmm.
other needs based on their strength as well. And I think that's the key when you're working through this, and
Mm-hmm.
understanding, and maybe how you share with others your heart and who you are. And then people can also give grace to receive grace, right? So it
Oh,
becomes that back and forth win-win, right? If I
oh,
seek
it's
to
so,
understand you, you can seek to understand me, and then we can work together to add value to each other.
mm. Oh, it just sounds beautiful. You make it sound so simple, Al. Why can't everybody understand that? Right? Like I get it. My relator is the same way. My relator, it's number strategic achiever, learner, relator. It's number 4. I say them in order. And I've been doing this a while. I still so people, if you're watching this and you can't remember your top 5, it's okay. I've been doing this for a while. Worked with Gallup, and I still sometimes have to name them all before I know where it's at. But my relator is the same way. I want to get to know somebody so quickly, and I want to connect with them so badly.
Absolutely.
And not everybody does. It drives me insane. So I feel you, but you're right. It starts with your own awareness, and that awareness of, just because people don't want to connect with you doesn't mean they don't like you. That's where, a lot of people, that's where their, bad voice, their gremlin would go, or, why don't they like me? It's not that. It's just how they're wired. They take a little bit longer. Well, going from there and using context, we are in, we're always in a place in history, right? We always are. The fact that we're in a place in history. What's interesting right now in this time, and if you're watching this video 10, 15 years from now, which I hope people are still watching these, there's a global pandemic going on.
Mhm.
And the last time this happened was over 100 years ago, to add some context to it. And how is your context, the talent theme context, helping you manage through these times, either in your business or your personal life?
Oh, it's been critical in this time, looking in the past to understand the future. And the past can be your own past,
Mhm.
right? So I give you an example. No, about 3 weeks ago, I was given an opportunity to be part of something much, much bigger than I ever imagined. And the way I was able to do that, to be part of this great, entrepreneurial company, when somebody called me, I relied heavily, heavily on context in terms of understanding, how do I do this? I've been here before. And I think where we can encourage other people these days is that we all have gone through trials, tribulations, challenging times such as this. And that in every challenge, there is an opportunity. And then when we have the mindset that, we are here, but we're not going to stay here, that we have a way, you can look back in your own past and find a situation, a challenge that you were given, and
Mhm.
how you came through that situation, and then
Right.
jot down some key things that made you successful in that situation and what have you. And it may be pieces of information that you gather along the path. It's like, chasing yourself back through the forest. And if
Right.
you leave yourself pieces of information that you can chase yourself back, you can find a way to be successful in the future, because the pieces of information are there for you. And we
Mhm.
all have that as human beings. It may be something you learn as a child. It may be something you learn from your boss, from your father, from your mother. But all those pieces of information are key, and that's context.
Right.
And that, you can put that together to create hope for yourself, for
Mhm.
others. It may be your religious background, where, for me, I'm a Christian. And
Right.
I rely a lot on my Christian faith to give
Right.
me hope, right? And my God to give me hope and what have you. There's several pieces of information that you can rely on to draw the hope for a better future, for better opportunities, or whatever you're doing. So
Mm.
that's the way I encourage others in this challenging time. There's great opportunities coming ahead of us. And those that have the mindset that this is a time of challenge, yet of opportunity, are those that they're going to be the most resilient in these situations that
Mm,
we see.
I love it. I did a study this week myself, and we'll have to maybe catch up offline, because it talks about 3 other times in history where there was this cycle, and not just necessarily a pandemic, but we're talking in thousands of years. I would love to have that conversation with you. I'll call you this week. Um, so with that, and you brought up, that's a good transition to my next question about history. We believe you are born with these talents, right? This thought process. And that's really what this is about. It's a thought process assessment, which determines your actions and your behaviors. Like that's where it starts. And with that, so we believe you're born with them. And as you grow up, you either learn to refine them, or you use them rawly.
Right?
And so when you think back as a child and understanding the strengths language now, what's one of your earliest memories that you now can look back and go, yep, that was my context, showing that?
Well, absolutely. I remember my uncles, one of my uncles gave myself and my brother and my sisters a set of encyclopedia books.
I love it.
And he also gave us one of geography. And I would spend long hours just flipping through those books. And it
Oh,
would just intrigue me a lot, just learning from the past, right? And
oh,
that, I didn't understand at the time. This is self-reflection,
right.
self-awareness or what have you. When I start thinking about it, that's when I realized, wow, now I understand why I gravitated to those books so much.
You were
And in
born this way. Yeah.
absolutely, in recent history, I was at Union University taking my last history class, which was my last core class.
Hmm.
In the last month of school, that I met my sweetheart, Sunshine DaSilva now. And the
And that's
reason
her first name, right? Sunshine.
Sunshine,
Oh, what a
and the
beautiful
reason
name.
Sunshine and I connected because I was the only one in the class that would get historical jokes from the teacher. So he would be telling a story and he would say these jokes, my history teacher, and I became kind of a teacher's pet because I was the only one that would laugh at his jokes. And sometimes I would laugh out loud so loud that I couldn't help it, because he was so funny telling these historical jokes. But you only get it if you understood context and history. So he would
Uh,
tell these South American jokes about the true stories about the history in South America. This is what the book tells you, but this is the true story. And then I would just bust out laughing because it would amaze me that a history teacher in America would have such a in-depth understanding of history, not only of American history, but also South American history and world history, and not understand not only what the book was telling you, but what was the true context, again,
mm,
of that
I can
story.
see how you were his pet. Yeah.
Now,
So
I would
anybody
love
watching this who has context, if you're going to school or plan on going back to school, or if your children have context, they could get some extra points here. So
absolutely. And that's how I
well,
met my wife. My laugh
yeah,
says that my laugh, caught her attention.
yeah.
So
Ah, that's such a good story too. Well, let me ask you this. So we talked a little bit about what frustrates you with context, and we talked. Like I said, I could hear how they show up. Do you have any of those two themes that work really well together, and then maybe two themes that butt up against each other? Like I'll give you an example. My achiever and my learner butt up against each other because my achiever just wants to get it done, but my learner is, yeah, but I want to learn the process of this. And then I'm like, yeah, but I just want to get it done. So I've learned how to manage that, but they can rub up against each other, and it could be in a day or it could be with a project. Do you have two themes like that?
I think so. I think belief and context has the potential to
Okay.
really butt heads. Because here's the thing, as you understand the situation or a person or whatever you're dealing with, and if that particular situation or person doesn't completely align with your values, with your beliefs, there is a great chance of conflict. Because somebody that has a belief, and then belief for me is number two. So I have to be fully aligned, to be fully engaged in terms of values, and values are very important. Even the way I design my own consulting company, it's very based on value. We really value our customers and we want to help them win, and we even do it in the way that we take most of the risk
Mhm.
because we think that's the way we believe.
It's the right thing. Yeah.
Right
People,
thing,
just to give some context to anybody who's listening to this, the belief theme is about core values to that's exactly what it's about. It doesn't necessarily mean religion, although we have found people who have belief tend to have a religion they strongly believe in. But belief is really, it can be very black and white. So just to give some context for everybody
Absolutely.
who may not understand all the themes yet. So thank you for that. So belief and context, I can see that.
So those two, I think, the most challenging sometimes.
Okay. Which ones do you think work the best together for you?
I think it's strategic, and
Okay.
it takes me back, and I'll tell you this story how the two
Yeah.
the two actually connected really well. I remember when I was managing a very complex medical group,
Mm-hmm.
department of surgery, the department of plastic surgery. And one of the very first things, and I did not know this at a time, but at the time for this particular chair, he had 8 directors of operations in 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, whoa. So that should tell you turnover is a problem.
Yeah, right.
So
What's your first clue? Okay.
So the very first thing when I met with Dr. Wallace, I can say his name, and he's a great friend
Yeah.
and still friends to this day. When I met with Dr. Wallace, the way we connected, I asked him this question. I said, Dr. Wallace, help me understand your vision for this department. Tell me, where you've been, where you are, and where do you want to go? And when I did that, I was using context because I asked where he's been. I wanted to value what he had built. And I want to value, I told him that I wanted to take the time to learn because, he's been in the business for, 25 years as a plastic surgeon. I knew nothing about plastic surgery. So I took that humble position that I needed to learn before I could tell him anything, right? And then when I did that, I said, Dr. Wallace, would you be okay if I put a strategic plan together for us? Now, a strategy and context playing. I listened, I learned, I used learning, right? I used communication because, for him, sometimes, that was a challenge at times, but I used communication, we connected. And when I brought the plan to him and he gave me some directives, he says, Al, this is exactly what we need to do. And he says, yes, you understood what I'm asking.
Great example.
And then when I did that, he came and he says, you know what, now we're a team and we're going to work together. Yeah. And man, the result of that, when you have this type of alignment,
right?
We double bottom line revenue together for 2 years in a row. Wow. We started new services, recruited new doctors. It was such a great success.
I just get
because we were fully aligned. And it was one of those.
And you were working in your strengths. You used your strengths to get there. And I think if we could get more people understanding the language of strengths, it isn't about what you do, right? Like any 2 people could have been in that situation, but a lot of times they end up butting heads and fighting for control. Who knows more? But if we can help people, you worked in your strengths. And I would have, by the way, thank you for that, because I would have never thought that strategic and context is the ones that play well together. I just wouldn't have guessed that. And boy, that was a great example. That makes so much sense. So thank you for this example. And then you allowed him, even without knowing what his strengths were, you allowed him to let them bubble up, and your awareness allowed you to work together and take that. What a great example. So, and that's what our goal is, right? Is to help other people have that same success. This is not about what we do. It's about how we approach it, and we all approach things differently. And that's awesome. So let's embrace that, and we can all achieve success.
Absolutely.
What do you wish?
Jerry,
What do you wish? Yeah.
If I may add to that, that's when I learned to really work with physicians and understand physicians. They tick in a different way than anybody else.
Yeah.
They're brilliant people. But if you don't understand how to work with them, it can be the most frustrating thing that you've ever done in your life. Or the most rewarding thing that you can do in your entire life, when you understand to value that physician and understand how to communicate with them.
Right.
Understand them, understand their needs and all of the things that their fears, why they are the way that they are. When you understand that, man, you can build extremely successful businesses when that type of alignment. And in healthcare, we talk about physician alignment. There's a lot of talk about that and very little results on true physician alignment, because a lot of times one is trying to push the belief, their belief in one the other, and doesn't respect each group. You know, it may be
Right.
the coats versus the suits. And we heard that before
Yeah.
here. And there's always this clash because people don't understand one another.
Yeah.
And I think strength is the answer to that when you start understanding how people really, you know, how they pick and how they think and how they and all of that stuff.
So I wish we could just, I want to come with, I want to watch you one day. Can I just come sit on one of your meetings sometimes, Al? Because I would love to just come be a fly on that wall. Let me ask you this. What do you wish other people knew about the context theme? Maybe people who don't understand it, like somebody who has futuristic. I will tell you, I have a gentleman I met who has futuristic, is in a leadership role, and there was people that he had to work with that had context. And he used to get so frustrated with them because they would ask questions and they wanted to save buildings and save the city and save these artifacts. And he was like, no, we need to move forward. We need to move forward. Now that they understand why they are that way. But what do you wish other people knew about the theme context?
I think the best thing I can tell folks is that context allow you to slow down to be able to speed up.
Ooh, that's tweetable. Context allows, I'm going to tweet that. You'll get credit. Okay.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, allows you to slow down to be able to speed. And the reason for that is this. A lot of people, and I am a performance improvement expert with Lean Six Sigma training and what have you. So I was meeting with a group last week. And I was not trying to be arrogant. I was just trying to tell them. I was like, listen, I know you want to finish this project, but the way you want to do it is going to be a disaster. So what I'm proposing you to do is to take a step back, look at the problem in the context that got you here, and then based on the root causes. And another thing that context allows you to do is to identify true root causes for problem versus symptoms. And what we coach companies when we are engaging with them is that we embrace what I call evidence-based management. And evidence-based management, it's nothing more than context. It's understanding what works. Right? And I tell people this all the time. I've been to school 4 times. I've drank the Kool-Aid. I've been to business school a couple of times. So I've drank the Kool-Aid. I can't help it.
Yeah.
I've seen it work. And the way that I've seen it work is that as I was getting my graduate degrees, I was a very curious individual. So learning, right? I would learn and I would rush to my bosses and say, hey, I learned this in grad school. I want to do it. Can we do it? And then I had a great boss in the food industry that encouraged me. His name was Jose Figueroa. And Jose, the answer was always yes. And we were extremely successful together. He encouraged me as I was learning and I was understanding the context of the company. And then he would give me more and more challenging tasks. And then together we were able to win. And that's what I love the most as I look back, context again, when I was successful, was people that really pour into my life and then allow me to learn evidence-based management works. And if you apply the principles, it doesn't matter what business you're in, you're going to be successful.
I love it, Al. Thank you. And I will be tweeting that out. So, well, we always like to ask this, we like to end on a fun question. And while we do not want people making assumptions about talents, just like I can assume, I have a friend who has Harmony High and her husband swears to God she does not have Harmony High because she's put such boundaries around it that she comes across as harsh. She avoids conflict to the extreme. So we never want to assume we know what people have. And so, of course, we ask the question that totally does the opposite of that. And it's in fun. If you could assume and give somebody a strengths assessment, a famous person or even a fictional person who do you feel that would be that they have contacts? So you think back and go, yeah, they probably have contacts. And why do you believe that?
Ooh, I think, I don't know if Ronald Reagan had that, but
Oh,
he had such a ability to connect with people.
right.
And I believe that because he was to write a lot of letters and he wrote a lot of letters to individuals,
Yes.
and he was able to accomplish great things as a leader in America. And I think he took the time to connect with people. And
Right.
I don't know if he had contacts, but he is
Right.
a leader that I really admire
Right.
because the way that he was able to connect very deeply with
Well,
people.
and that sounds like taking the time, right? You said it allows you to slow down, to speed
Right?
up. So that's where I'm hearing that, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. That
So
makes sense.
I love how he did that, and I think every American can appreciate how such a figure Ronald Reagan was for our country as an American. I'm Brazilian, but
Right.
I'm American too.
Right.
Love being American, and as an American, that's one of the figures that I admire the most.
Uh,
Is Ronald Reagan and how he did what he did for our culture, what he did for our country. So it's good.
well, see, time just goes by so fast when we do these. And I want to encourage anybody who's watching this video or live to go to Al DaSilva. It's Al DaSilva or DaSilva Consulting. Al
It is
DaSilva.
As DaSilva Consulting.
DaSilva Consulting. Check him out. Check out everything they do, especially if you're in the healthcare industry. And right now, before we start recording, Al was telling me some of the good things they're doing with finding masks and gloves, and all we keep hearing about is how there isn't any, and Al's group is finding out how to get some. So with that,
Give the website,
yeah.
Sherry, that the website for our medical supply solution is 217solutions.com.
217solutions.com. I adore it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out and being our guest today and educating us all on the talent theme context. And I'll be sure to make sure you get a copy of this, but we'll make sure that we're all watching you as well. And we just thank you for all you do for your community.
Thank you very much for the
Okay.
time and the opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you, Al. Bye, everybody.
Bye.